That was all it took for the bus doors to open and close at the old corner stop on Rizal Avenue. 10 seconds most people never noticed. 10 seconds that usually meant nothing, but on that evening, those 10 seconds changed a life. The bus screeched to a halt under a flickering streetlight, its tired engine hissing like it had already given up. Commuters stood shoulder to shoulder inside, faces blank, eyes glued to phones, hearts heavy with the same daily exhaustion. Outside, rain-dark pavement reflected neon signs and broken dreams, and standing at that stop was a man no one was looking at. His name was Miguel Santos, though almost no one called him that anymore. To most people, he was just that guy who sings sometimes. To others, he was invisible. Miguel was in his late 30s, but life had carved deeper lines into his face than his age deserved. His jacket was thin, his shoes worn at the soles, and his hair, once carefully styled, now fell messily around his ears. In his hand, he held a small, cracked portable speaker, the kind sold cheaply at night markets. He wasn't supposed to be there that evening. In fact, he had promised himself he wouldn't sing again, not after what happened last month, not after the laughter, not after the security guard told him, "You're embarrassing yourself, Kuya." Miguel lowered his head as the bus arrived. He didn't step forward. He didn't raise his speaker. He just stood there, heart pounding, fingers tightening around the strap of his old guitar case, empty, because the guitar had been sold to pay for his mother's medicine. 10 seconds, that was how long he had before the bus left. Inside the bus, near the middle aisle, sat a teenage girl wearing headphones. She stared out the window, bored, scrolling endlessly. Near the front, a tired nurse leaned against a pole, eyes half closed after a double shift. At the back, a middle-aged man in a suit loosened his tie, jaw tight with stress. None of them knew Miguel, and none of them knew that once years ago he had been called Little Elvis of Cebu. Back then, Miguel was younger, brighter, fearless. His father had taught him Elvis songs on an old cassette player, their small house filled with music and laughter. When his father died suddenly, singing became the only way Miguel knew how to survive the silence. He sang at fiestas, at weddings, on street corners where people smiled and clapped. Then his mother got sick, then the hospital bills came, and then the applause faded. Miguel swallowed hard as rain began to fall again. The bus doors were still open. People were stepping in and out. Someone bumped his shoulder without apologizing. "Just go home," his mind whispered. "You've already failed enough." But then he remembered his mother's voice from that morning, weak but warm. "Anik," she had said, squeezing his hand, "don't let the world make you quiet." Miguel exhaled. 10 seconds. He pressed the power button on the speaker. A faint crackle filled the air, barely noticeable over traffic noise. The driver glanced toward the door impatiently. Miguel stepped forward. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't ask for money. He didn't even look up. He just sang. Musical note. Wise men say, only fools rush in. Musical note. The sound wasn't loud, but it was clear. Rich. Smooth. The kind of voice that carried pain and hope in the same breath. Inside the bus, the teenage girl froze mid-scroll. The nurse opened her eyes. The man in the suit straightened. Musical note. But I can't help falling in love with you. Musical note. Miguel's eyes closed as he sang, his hand gripping the invisible microphone the way he used to on small stages years ago. For a moment, the rain softened. The traffic seemed to fade. 10 seconds passed. The driver didn't close the door. People stopped moving. Musical note. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin? Musical note. Miguel's voice cracked, not from lack of skill, but from emotion. Memories rushed back, his father clapping, his mother smiling from the front row. The feeling of being seen. Inside the bus, something shifted. A woman near the window wiped her eyes. The nurse placed a hand over her mouth. Someone quietly started recording. Musical note. If I can't help falling in love with you. Musical note. Silence followed the final note. For one long heartbeat, no one spoke. Then something unexpected happened. A single clap, then another, then the entire bus erupted into applause. Miguel opened his eyes, stunned. The driver leaned out of his seat and said, "Kuya, can you sing another?" Miguel's throat tightened. He nodded, barely able to speak this time. He smiled. Musical note. Love me tender, love me sweet. Musical note. People laughed softly through tears. The teenage girl removed her headphones completely. The man in the suit smiled for the first time that day. At the next stop, instead of getting off, people stayed. At the next one after that, more passengers waited, not to ride, but to listen. Someone passed Miguel a folded bill. Then another. And another. Miguel didn't see the money. He saw faces. He saw kindness. He saw himself again. By the time he finished his third song, the rain had stopped. The street light glowed brighter. A woman approached him and said, "My uncle owns a small cafe. Would you sing there sometime? Miguel couldn't answer. He just bowed his head, overwhelmed that night. He went home with wet shoes, a hoarse voice, and a heart fuller than it had been in years. When he sat beside his mother's bed and told her what happened, tears slid down her cheeks. "I told you," she whispered. "Don't be quiet." Weeks later, a video titled "Filipino Elvis Stops a Bus with His Voice" spread across the internet. Millions watched. Comments poured in.